Today we are going to talk about divorce and familial separation. The first thing you want to consider when going through a separation from your spouse is you need to take care of your physical self and your emotional self. Physical self, what you want to do is make sure that you are incorporating moving your body in some way, whether that's exercise, going for a walk, even sometimes if all you can do is get up and stretch in the morning, but make sure that you are moving your body. We also want to make sure you're eating well and making healthy food choices. Food is fuel for our body and it absolutely impacts our mental wellness. So during this time of stress and grief, we want to make sure we're fueling our body with nutrition. And then lastly, sleep. None of us are getting enough sleep, but we cannot operate at our best selves on lack of sleep. So as best you can, get close to that 8 to 10 hours of sleep every night to make sure that your body is well rested in order to move forward with your day. Then we want to take care of our emotional self, whether this means going to therapy, journaling, spending time with friends or family. But what are you doing to take care of your emotional self during this time? Even when you want to separate from your spouse, it takes a big emotional toll on not just you, but your children and the family as a whole. So we want to make sure that physical health and emotional health are really being looked at and taken care of during this time. When going through a separation, we want to consider a few things. One, take some time to journal about what are you as a parent losing with this separation? What will you be losing? For some parents, that's time with your child. For some parents, that's free time for themselves because now they will be the primary caregiver of their children. Some parents will lose money. They will lose assets. Some have to move. Some may have lost careers or their career was impacted by the change. What are you as a parent losing in this process of divorce? The next thing you want to look at with loss is, what is your child losing? Do they know? Have you asked them? Are they even old enough to be able to share what they're losing? But consider what your child is losing in this example. For some of them, it's losing a connected, intact family unit. Sometimes they are also losing time with you or their parents together. For some of them, the loss isn't always bad. Maybe they're leaving a stressful, abusive relationship or environment rather. But take some time and also consider, if you haven't already, if your child is of an age where they can speak for themselves, ask them what they feel like they are losing in this situation. And lastly, consider what the extended family is losing. Maybe you loved your in-laws and they're not your in-laws anymore. Maybe you had a terrible relationship with your in-laws and you're happy to be losing that contentious relationship. What does this mean for your children? Are they now losing time with their extended family, their grandparents, their cousins? But extended family also loses in a family separation. So take some time and jot down and consider what they are also losing in this case. Research shows that we grieve the loss of a relationship the same way we grieve the death of a loved one. So when you're considering divorce or going through a separation, we want to create some space and allow you to have some space and time to grieve this loss. There's a lot of grief that occurs, not just for you, but also your children, also that extended family. So let's take some time and look at what the grief process looks like in a separation. Often the first stage of grief for people is denial. This is where we're not really sure if the separation is really happening. Is it really going to turn out this way? Oh, my spouse threatens me with divorce all the time, but they never do anything about it. There's a period where we might not believe that the separation is actually going to occur. And with kids, denial is very strong and it can last a long time because kids tend to not begin the grief process until one parent has physically moved out of the home. So if you're in a situation where you and your co-parent are still living together, even though you're separated, no matter how many times you talk to your kids about the divorce, they may still believe that you guys will figure it out and get back together. So denial is something that looks different for adults than kids, and that's something to keep in mind. But again, typically denial is the first stage of grief. Another stage of grief that you may experience is bargaining. This is when we are trying to wheel and deal to stop the divorce from happening. So a spouse may say to another, I promise I won't drink anymore, just please stay in the relationship. I promise I'll make more money if you just stay in the relationship. With kids may promise to get better grades or have better behavior because often they think it's their fault, right? And we'll talk about that more. But they will try to bargain with you and wheel and deal to make sure that the separation does not happen. Believe it or not, in bargaining, this is also where we see the most financial depletion because people are struggling and feel out of control of the situation that is occurring. So they will use finances to make themselves feel better. So maybe they will make big purchases, they will go on vacation, they will go shopping, try to buy their way out of this situation. This is not the time to make those big, large purchases. If possible. In a state of emotion, we can often make decisions and changes that we later regret. So if you don't need to, while you're bargaining, this is a time to really sit with this feeling of not being in control, talk to someone, or find healthy coping strategies to manage what you're feeling instead of using money to get out of those feelings. The next stage of grief that you may experience is depression. Often people consider depression one way because this is what we see on TV and in the movies, where extreme sadness, can't get out of bed, crying all the time. And that may be true for some people, but really depression is when you experience any behaviors outside of what would be normal for you. So for some people that may be a lot of sleep, but for some people that may look like insomnia. Some people may experience overeating. Some people may experience undereating. You may stay home more than normal. You may stay away from home, stay out as much as you can. Kids might start isolating themselves, staying in their room more, pushing away friends or family. You may notice a change in their grades. You may see a regression in their behavior. So for example, let's say your child is potty trained, they might start having more accidents than normal, especially those young ones who are not able to verbalize or have the language to express what they're feeling. You're going to notice changes in their behavior first and their emotionality. For some, depression can also be self-harm, suicidal thoughts, and ideation. So depression is something that if you are experiencing, again, you want to make sure that you or your children are seeking out professional help to manage those feelings, to make safe choices. During a divorce, anger is a stage of grief that is the most destructive because it usually comes with the highest intensity of emotion. In this state of grief, in extreme cases, this is where we can see abuse, neglect, destroying property or your spouse's possessions, self-medicating with drugs or alcohol, possible self-harm, self-injury. There may be in kids sibling rivalry happening, more bullying. Your kid may even be bullying other children at school because of all that pent-up anger. So this is a very destructive stage. And a lot of people get stuck here because they don't realize anger is actually a secondary emotion. What that means, it is not the primary emotion that you're feeling. I like to give the example of a fire, like starting a fire, right? Anger's the flames. You see the pretty flames coming up. But what sparked it? What started those flames? If anger is the flame, what is the emotion underneath that sparked that reaction. This could be sadness, betrayal, disappointment, but take some time to explore what is causing the anger so that we can learn how to better cope with it. Ultimately, after a divorce or separation, what we want to do is work toward acceptance. That's the goal, to get to a place of acceptance. Acceptance means thinking less about the past and the separation and looking more toward the future. It's understanding that since you will always be in each other's lives because you will always be parents to your children, that having a strong co-parenting relationship is the best option for your family moving forward. Understanding that there are limits to co-parenting, educating yourself on healthy co-parenting, and respecting each other's boundaries, setting them even, moving forward. You want to respect each other as well, because believe it or not, it's that respect and that harmony between you and your co-parent that will make it easier for your children to heal and thrive even in spite of a family separation. Thank you for watching. If you'd like more tips on how to be your best self and other general information about mental wellness, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and don't forget to comment below on other videos you'd like me to talk about.